So Path of Exile 2 Early Access is right around the corner and starting to look really, really good from what we've seen so far. Early Access releases December 6th for $30 unless you paid over $480 in Path of Exile 1, which then you'll get an Early Access key for free. I want to start off by saying that I'm very, very new to PoE. I've been playing a little bit the last few weeks. I have been having a lot of fun with it though. I do love ARPGs and Diablo-likes. I'm a huge fan of them. I played a lot of D4 when it first came out, but throughout the seasons I got a little bored of it, got kind of stale with the content. I'm going to try and explain everything as well as possible because some things in Path of Exile can be very, very complex. Starting off with everyone's favorite classes. Path of Exile 2, we have a total of 12 classes with only 6 being available in the early access. Also, in Path of Exile 2, each class will have 3 ascendancies, which are essentially a subclass that will drastically change the way you play. Sadly, in Early Access, we're only getting about 2 ascendancies per class. I want to note, though, to obtain the ascendancies, you have to complete certain trials, which is basically a dungeon at some point in the campaign, which is how you'll unlock your ascendancy class and get access to more skills. The classes and their ascendancies that we're going to have available on December 6th are going to be the Warrior, which is a strength-focused class, which uses maces and shields to destroy his enemies and block incoming damage. The shield can be fully raised to negate damage until your stagger bar depletes fully, which will open you up to taking damage, or unless an enemy does a special red attack, which is unblockable and you have to dodge or move out of the way. Now, the Warrior will be a bit of a slower class, but also heavier, so you'll be a little bit tankier, but you'll also be slower. You'll have high impacting attacks that'll do lots of slams with your mace. Also, the mace is going to have 20 skills to choose from, so you have a good variety that you can play with. The Warrior's ascendancy classes will be the Warbringer, which will focus on using totems to have spirits help him in battle, as well as amplifying the war cries that he does for increased damage and skills. Warrior will also be getting Titan, which heavily favors two-handed weapons and big-ass slams to do like really big damage. It's going to stun enemies and it's just going to destroy like everything in your path. It'll be really destructive. It's going to be awesome. Our next early access class is way more agile, and that's going to be the Ranger, which is a dexterity-focused class. And the Ranger will use elemental arrows to its advantage to clear enemies out of the way. These arrows will also help escape tough situations you might find yourself in. The class is really focused on using your agility and your archery to the best capability, and you'll have about 21 skills to choose from as the Ranger. Ranger's first ascendancy class is going to be Deadeye, which grants extra projectiles and large barrages of attacks, and you'll also be able to increase your agility skills. You also get Pathfinder, which will focus on flask and poison. This one's going to have a lot of bottles and kind of concoctions that you're going to explode. You get 5 different types of flasks to choose from, and each of them are going to do certain different ailments. You'll be able to keep moving since you're going to be able to make yourself immune to slow, so you'll be able to move quickly while also outputting damage. Personally, the class that I'm going to most likely pick is the Witch. The Witch is focused on curse magic and summoning the undead to fight for you in many different ways. This is your dark mage class kind of archetype that specializes in intelligence. You'll have about 25 different minion and occult spells to choose from. There's also a new mechanic called Spirit in PoE 2. This is going to be above your mana bar, and basically you'll be able to allocate certain spirit points to specify which types of minions and skeletons you want, whether that be like a sniping archer skeleton or an arsonist skeleton, a warrior skeleton. You'll have tons of different options to choose from. These summons are also going to be paired with active skills to help you control your army to specify what they're going to be doing. Infernalist is the first ascendancy class for the Witch, which will get you a hellhound that will fight with you and also take damage for you as well. You can also turn your mana into something called Hellfire, which will trigger mana overloads and cause giant fiery explosions with your attacks. You can also turn into a demon, which will amp up the damage you take, but also allow you to have higher casting speed and a much higher elemental damage as well. So it's a pretty good trade-off. It also looks really badass. I'm not gonna lie. I haven't decided if I want to do this one quite just yet. The ascendancy I'm kind of leaning towards right now is the Bloodmancer. This will allow you to turn your mana cost into a health cost instead for your skills. For this though, you'll get an extra energy shield to kind of balance it out, but a lot of like the blood magic just seems really badass and kind of fits like the Necromancer kind of vibe that I like to go for. A lot of the attacks will also leech health with the skills off of enemies. The next intelligence-based character is going to be our Sorceress. This will be more of your typical wizard character you see in other games where you're able to master the elements to your advantage. You'll have fire, cold, and lightning in your arsenal. These will allow you to take out anything in your path with the 25 different elemental spells to choose from. Sorceress ascendancies will be Stormweaver, who will use the lightning to their advantage and have heavy amounts of crowd control, bouncing the lightning between enemies to help out clear rooms. We also get the Chronomancer. Now this one looks really, really cool because you can literally stop time. I mean, like, how badass is like that? That's like really, really cool. You can also reverse time, which will allow you to go to a prior location, giving you your mana and your health back. And I think your cooldowns also get reset as well. Now, the other class that I have my eyes on is the Mercenary. This class is said by the devs to be inspired by FPS and shooters. Mercenary is going to use its 22 crossbow skills to gun down enemies with many different types of crossbows to choose from. Some of the different styles are snipers, shotguns, machine guns, grenade launchers, and more. This is a class of hybrid of strength and dex. It looks like it's really cool. Now, if I do go mercenary, I'm going to try the witch hunter. I'll definitely be trying this out because you look like you're straight from Bloodborne, which is really badass. This is going to allow you to tap into the arcane arts and use a little bit of magic to your advantage while also being that run and gun type. You'll be able to get a shield, which will kind of help protect you from different magical casters and stuff. It's going to be really cool. You also have access to the Gemling Legionnaire as the mercenary. This is going to focus heavily on skill gems and allowing you to really customize the way your skill sets is, because you're going to get extra skills and extra support skills. Now, this is going to be great for like the people that love to really min-max their builds. So I think this one's going to be a great choice for those people. Now, for our final early access class that we're going to be able to play, this is the Monk. This class is going to use his agility, quarterstaff, and elemental skills, those being lightning, cold, and wind. Monk will have 21 different quarterstaff skills to choose from. This is supposed to be a very heavy combo type of class, so if you want to max out your damage input, you're going to have to really combine those combos, that agility, that element, and that staff together. It looks like it's going to be a hybrid of intelligence and dex. This class honestly looks really, really cool, and I'm definitely excited for what they're going to do with it. For the Monk's Ascendancies, we get Invoker, which will allow you to specialize in using energy to create additional defenses and allow you to further invest in certain elements. You can also turn into an elemental avatar, which is pretty badass because it lets you do a lot of extra amounts of damage and gets elemental bonuses as well. Now, the monk can also get a little bit evil because the other ascendancy is the Acolyte of Chayula, which sounds really, really cool. This lets you turn your spirit energy into darkness, which allow you to stack it for extra damage and bonuses. I'm not sure what else you can do. I'm going to put some of the skills on the screen. Now, for the other 6 classes, we only have a little bit of footage and knowledge for these ones, so I'm going to show what we have. But we do have the Huntress, which is going to be a close-range spear user. That seems really fun and agile. This one's going to seem kind of similar to the Ranger in a way, but I'm not too much sure what else because we don't have as much info. The Huntress will be a dex-focused class, so that much we do know. So it is going to be similar to the Ranger, just not entirely. We also have the Druid, which looks really, really cool. This is going to be an elemental shapeshifter. It looks really, really fun. It seems like you're going to be able to combo your elemental spells with some shapeshifting abilities. The Druid will be a strength and intelligence based character. We do have 4 more classes. The knowledge is kind of thin on what these are going to be, but we do have their names. So we have the Marauder, which will focus on axes and which is going to be our second strength character. We also have the Duelist, who is going to focus on swords. It most likely will have a little bit of agility into the kit is what I'm thinking. This is going to be a bit of a strength and dex character. We also have the Shadow, which is going to be dex and intelligence based character. He's going to use daggers and traps to his advantage. A class I'm excited for is the Templar. Holy classes are usually really fun to play in RPGs. I have a lot of fun with them. They kind of fit into the whole like killing demonic forces vibe, but sadly there isn't too much info on this class other than we know it'll use flails and strength and intelligence to his advantage. I want to say that Path of Exile is a little bit different from other ARPGs because, you know, you're not really locked in for what you're using on like a skill in a class, right? Warriors can use spells if they'd like. Since skills are slotted through a gem system, allowing you to get really into the min-maxing of your character and how they perform. It's really cool because there's a lot of support gems that also will support those skills when you connect them to other gems. Basically, it allows them to be modified in a certain way with bonuses and debuffs as well. So you really gotta weigh like how important that is to you. There's gonna be a total of 240 active skills in the game and 200 support gems at launch. I'm not sure how much you'll have at early access, probably about half of that since we're only getting half of the classes, but it looks like it's gonna be really, really cool. Post edit web paint here. I just want to acknowledge that PoE 2 will have 4 different types of rarity, those being normal, magic, rare, and unique. Now for the combat. PoE 2 seems to be taking a little bit of a slower, more methodical approach to combat. The developers have added a dodge roll mechanic, which looks absolutely like really, really cool and really balanced out the fight around this mechanic as well as what the devs have done. This is really nice because in PoE 1 you basically had to use a skill slot to have a bit of an escape or of a dodge mechanic because you didn't really have much movement in PoE 1 other than kind of like Quicksilver Flask and stuff, which would help you increase your speed. But they've also added WASD movement to the game instead of just having to click everywhere with the mouse. You know, I know some players do kind of prefer WASD rather than clicking. Me, I'm really, you know, I'm kind of either way. I don't really care. But I do see it as an overall win because it just adds more variety and options for how you want to play. I do want to add a side note because PoE 2 is going to have couch co-op. This is honestly a huge W for people that love couch co-op because it's something that just hasn't really gotten much love in the past. You know, but so you love to see it make a return. It kind of seems like you share one screen, but your health and mana bars are a little bit different on each side. But really, couch co-op making a big return is awesome, especially for like the console players at home. I think it's going to be just great for the game. Moving on to bosses, it seems like bosses will drop permanent buffs, which I think is really cool. I'm interested in what it's going to provide and how much power scale you'll be able to do with it. I'm just think it's going to be cool, you know, adding more min-max to your character and getting more like passive stat bonuses is always fun. You know, getting like that huge power fantasy is just, oh man, it's such a thrill. It really is. It's so cool. Speaking of bosses and enemies, there will be 100 unique bosses. Now, they said each boss will be very different. It's not just going to be a little bit variation of each enemy type. It's going to be really nice to kind of have some, you know, variation and variety, because I feel like a lot of games kind of just reuse previous enemies as bosses and stuff like that, etc. There's also going to be a huge whopping 400 plus enemy types. I think there may even be more. Maybe the 400 is just for early access. I could be wrong, but there's so much variety that I'm just like beyond excited. A lot of these designs are so like filthy and dark and grotesque, but in like the best ways, you know what I mean? Like a lot of them look disgusting, but like in a really cool, badass and gritty way. I'm really excited for the enemy variety and everything. Speaking of visuals and how everything looks, PoE 2 is really upgrading its visuals this time around and taking that gross beauty and leveling up so much. The textures look really good as well, and the character models are so much better than the original. PoE 1 is getting kind of old. You know, I think it's like 11 or 12 years old now, so it's starting to show its age a little bit, but it's not that it looks bad or anything. It's just kind of an older game. You know, we've had it for a long time. So I think PoE 2 is really going to upgrade it and take it to the next level. Moving to the story, the campaign is going to consist of 6 total acts. Only in early access, though, we're going to only have 3 of the acts, since Grinding Gear Games kind of said that they wanted to focus on the end game, since they think that a lot of games these days kind of tend to release without an end game in mind. And that is what a lot of the player base kind of does look for, is the end game. The campaign is important, don't get me wrong, but the end game is what a lot of players are really like there for. You know, that's like the meat and the bones is the end game. In early access, the way it's going to work though is you'll play through acts 1 through 3, and then they're going to reset on a difficulty called Cruel. This is essentially going to be like a new game plus system where you're just going to play through acts 1 through 3 again, and then once you have completed all 6 acts, 1 through 3, you know, once again, then you'll be in the end game, which is the real meat and bones. For the world, we'll be getting 100 distinct environments. I'm hoping for snow, dude. I really am. I love snow. Anytime I see a snow environment, I do get so happy. It's just, I don't know, dude, something about snow is just so peaceful and relaxing. I don't know, man. You know, and it is winter time, so we're getting on winter time, so hopefully, you know, sometime soon we'll get some snow. We're also gonna get 700 different equipment types and 6-player person co-op, which is really nice. It's also gonna be crossplay. Crossplay is gonna be so nice. I've been loving seeing the shift of more games do crossplay. I just think it brings communities together way more. You know, less PC master race and more just, you know, unity and community. That's what games really should be about. PC master race though. Now to microtransactions, the topic that I feel like people get a little, you know, touchy about, and it gets a little scary. But good news, you know, PoE does have a lot of microtransactions, but they're not pay to win. Pretty much they're all convenience things like stash tabs, character slots, cosmetics, you know, home customization, etc. All of the microtransactions for the most part are going to carry over from PoE 1 to PoE 2. That is amazing. More games need to do that. It's so consumer friendly. I cannot believe that. I feel like this is like the first time I've ever seen this. So yes, don't fret and fear about microtransactions, because they're not that big of a deal as they may seem. Now moving on to the meat and bones, the end game. Now the end game for PoE 2 and 1 can be a bit confusing, so bear with me. For the main appeal, you have something called the Atlas, which is just a giant map with random zones inside of it, that you're going to use these things called waystones to travel with. The more you travel outward from the center of this map, the harder the zones will be, but the better the loot. Now, bosses in these Atlas zones will be upgraded campaign bosses with altered abilities and AI, so they are going to be some reused bosses and familiar faces that you'll see, but it's going to be great because they're going to have different AI and different abilities, so it is going to feel pretty fresh. If you were to die in one of these zones, it will be marked out and you can no longer retry it, so you really got to make sure you're geared up properly and prepared, or else you do lose the opportunity to get the loot from that area. You can also add things to these waystones and modify them for harder challenges to help you, which is going to be really cool because it's going to give you benefits, and it'll also make it harder if you need it, you know. If you're over geared, you know, maybe you'll be too good for it. Maybe you need a little bit of an extra challenge. Who knows? That's gonna be it for this video, guys. I'm very excited for PoE 2. I think it's gonna be tons and tons of fun. We're gonna make a good amount of videos on it. December 6th, I will see you guys there. We'll definitely be live streaming it. It just looks like it's gonna be a fantastic game. I definitely think it's gonna be one of the greatest ARPGs to come out in a very long time. I'm gonna sink hopefully tons and tons of hours into it, and I'm honestly sad that I've gotten to PoE 1 so late. You know, I'm kind of missing out on all like the fun and like the hype, but you know, PoE 1 is still gonna live on. The developers have said that they're still gonna support it with new leagues, etc. While they're also playing PoE 2 and supporting PoE 2. So hopefully their idea is that you're going to go from PoE 2 to the league, you know, and then the new league for PoE 1 will come out, and you'll just kind of swap between the two. So there's going to be tons of content for both games. But yeah, that's really all that I have to say, guys. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.